to the Beckoning Bookshelf. I'm your host, Jeffrey Ashcraft. After I did an episode on Hayao Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke, the first story, a viewer asked if I had read Shuna's Journey and suggested that I do an episode on that book. Luckily, I have read it. Shuna's Journey was written and illustrated by Hayao Miyazaki and first published in 1983 in Japan. It would not be translated and published in English until 2022 by First Second Books, 39 years later, with the translation being done by Alex Dudok DeWitt. I think that's how you say it. If you haven't heard of Shuna's Journey, the fact that it wasn't published in English until 2022, like 4 years ago, could be why. In the timeline of Miyazaki's works, this book was published after Castle of Cagliostro, which came out in 1979, and before the film Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which came out in 1984. At the time, around the year 1980, Miyazaki was between projects, so he had some free time. He would work on storyboarding various original projects, including Shuna's Journey, Princess Mononoke, and My Neighbor Totoro. He would also start working on Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which would become a serialized manga in 1982. So in case you weren't aware, yes, Nausicaa was a manga before it was a film. So Shuna's Journey was published during Nausicaa's serialization, at least early on. And one of these days I do plan on doing an episode on Nausicaa because it is fascinating. So very interesting. I actually have 2 copies of Shuna's Journey. One is in Japanese because I wanted the book and I got it a few years ago, but it wasn't available in English yet. So I can't read Japanese, but I really wanted one. And I'm honestly surprised as to just how small it is. It's a lot smaller than I expected. According to Wikipedia, Shuna's Journey was published as a softcover booklet in Japan. And I'd say softcover booklet really does kind of fit, does describe this book well. And interestingly, this softcover booklet actually has a dust cover, which softcover booklets don't typically have. So here's the actual cover, a nice shade of purple. So, and we got to get it back in there. There's always the hard part with this. That's why they don't have them dust covers often, because they're hard to put back on. Of course, I have the English edition as well, which is a hardback with a dust cover, and it's clearly much bigger than the Japanese version. And it has a different illustration on the cover, and both of the illustrations are actually from the book itself. And I think the illustrations fit both sizes of book very well. The actual cover for the English version, there we go, is a nice blue with gold lettering for the title and Hayao Miyazaki, the author, both on the front cover and on the spine of the book. So I think it's very nice. So, yep, got to get back in there. There we go. Well, not yet. So while I like the convenience of the smaller Japanese version, I like the larger English version more because I can appreciate the art more. I can see it better. Anyways, now, what is Shuna's Journey about? Shuna is the prince of a small, struggling kingdom where food is always scarce. So when he receives a mysterious seed from a stranger and learns of golden grain, he sets out to find the blessed crop and save his kingdom, save his village. On his journey, he finds a complicated and very cruel world and meets 2 young sisters being sold as slaves. How will Shuna navigate this new world, and will he find the golden grain? Well, Shuna's Journey is an original work from Miyazaki. It apparently took some inspiration from some older tales. One of those stories is a Tibetan folktale called The Prince Who Turned into a Dog. In that folktale, the prince steals golden grain from the Serpent King to save his village. As punishment, the Serpent King turns the prince into a dog, hence the name of the fable. So, and I'm sure you can see the similarities between the two stories already, though I will say there's no dog here. So, slight spoilers. Another story that helped inspire Shuna's Journey is apparently an even earlier work from Miyazaki himself. I'm not sure how much that story counts as inspiration, since it actually came from Miyazaki himself, again, but we'll go with it. I mean, people can inspire themselves, right? Miyazaki wrote a manga that was serialized back in 1969 called People of the Desert. He apparently published the manga under a pseudonym of Akitsu Saburo. I think it was something like that, which is probably one of the reasons why that manga isn't more strongly associated with Miyazaki. This earlier work would apparently help inspire Shuna's Journey and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. And now I really want to read that manga. But I feel like it's going to be a lot harder to find that than it was this. So I haven't even looked, but we'll see. If I find it, I'll do an episode on it. Being a story by Hayao Miyazaki, this book has everything you'd expect in it from one of his stories. It is interesting, it's magical, it's fascinating, it's also quite somber and rather dark at times. Miyazaki has never shied away from more heavy topics, and this is no exception. This is also one of Miyazaki's more cryptic stories, in my opinion, which makes sense because it's quite short. It's not very long. Miyazaki's worlds are so complex, intricate, and vast, and Miyazaki typically presents those worlds with very little background or context. It's never fully explained where Chihiro goes in Spirited Away, or what Totoro is. We have ideas, but we don't fully know. It sometimes seems like you're just thrown into the middle of the story and you did not do the required homework to understand what is going on. You weren't even aware there was homework to do in the first place. Of course, since Miyazaki is such a talented storyteller, his stories and his stories connect with the viewers on such an instinctual level that we often don't need the additional explanations or background information. You enjoy the story, even if you don't understand everything about Miyazaki's worlds. It all just kind of works and makes sense. On the art of the story, the art is great. I mean, it's illustrated by Hayao Miyazaki, so of course it's great. It would be far more unique if the art was bad, which I think I actually said on the Princess Mononoke video. Anyways, Shuna's Journey is a fully watercolor illustrated graphic novel. And I guess I should mention this. As the book is Japanese, I thought it was a manga, but it isn't. That's not the case. It's not a manga. This is a monogatari, or a picture book. I had to practice that word. And I don't really understand the differences, but apparently a manga, in a manga, the art, it has a greater priority in telling the story than in a monogatari. So you could probably look at it like this. In a manga, the text accompanies the art, while in a monogatari, the art accompanies the text. So don't quote me on that, but that's my understanding. The illustrations are also fully complete, unlike Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke, the first story, which was also published in 1983 in Japan. And in fact, the illustrations are so good that you can pretty much derive most of the story through the illustrations alone, which I initially did with the Japanese version, because I don't read Japanese. So when I finally read the story in English, it pretty much confirmed most of the story that I had already guessed at. But again, it doesn't explain everything. Even with the text, there is still a lot that is left unexplained and unknown and left to our own imaginations. And yes, I know I could have used some translation app or something like that, but it's just not as fun as reading the book itself. And I just had fun imagining what the story would be. Shuna's Journey would also inspire a few of Ghibli's future productions. You may have already noticed that Shuna's steed looks a lot like Yakul from Princess Mononoke. Also, Shuna, leaving his village, is similar to Ashitaka leaving his in Princess Mononoke. Dia also looks a lot like Nausicaa, though there are some differences. Shuna looks a lot like Asbel from Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, but that might just be because of his hat. I will say that Dia and Shuna certainly have different personalities compared to their Nausicaa counterparts. They are not the same characters. They just kind of look similar. I won't say what this thing is in Shuna's Journey, but it does remind me of the Hedras in the Nausicaa manga. Maybe they're related, like maybe this is the Hedra's calmer cousin. Shuna's Journey would also partially inspire Tales from Earthsea, Ghibli's adaptation of Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea series. You can certainly see some similarities between Dea's character design and Teru's. I have trouble saying these names. That honestly surprised me when I learned that. Even more surprising was the fact that Miyazaki was interested in adapting the Earthsea books when he crafted Shuna's Journey. So, the Earthsea books could have inspired this story, which would eventually help inspire Ghibli's adaptation of Earthsea. Which that's cyclical, isn't it? It's kind of cool. We'll have to cover all of this more in detail when we talk about like Tales of Earthsea one day. But we'll have to cover the first 4 books of the Earthsea series before that, so that'll take some time. There are even more comparisons that could be made with other Ghibli productions and this story, but I'll leave at least some of those discoveries to you. Like I said, Miyazaki's stories seem to connect with people just naturally and on a deep level. And I believe this is due not only to Miyazaki's talent as a storyteller and artist, but also due to his deep morals and philosophies. Miyazaki has always had a great love and respect for nature. It is honestly one of his greatest gifts and morals that he shares with us. It's present in all of his works, and this is no different. Reading and watching his stories reminds us of how beautiful, powerful, great, and terrible nature can be. His stories always awaken a greater appreciation of the beauty of nature and the respect it demands. We are all part of this absolutely magnificent world, and it is our responsibility to treat it with respect and care for it. As we do that, this world will also take care of us. That's not to say that everything will be easy or that we will be saved from all disasters, because that's not how nature works. And Miyazaki conveys that message well in his stories. But this wonderful world often returns what we give it. And the more respect the more we respect this magnificent world and the more we embrace it, the more it will give us sustenance and happiness in return. That's always a good reminder and message from a master storyteller. I'm talking about Miyazaki, not me. He's the master storyteller. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for being here. Have you read Shuna's Journey? Did you get it in Japanese first? Were you waiting for the English copy like I was? But I had it in Japanese too. So anyways. Yeah, let me know what you think if you've read Shuna's Journey. Thank you for being here. Thank you always for being here. You are amazing. Now go find yourself a good book.